So what do you do about these avidya people? Well, if you can, let them go their own way and you go your own way. That might be the best solution, because you're going different directions, and stop the suffering now. But don't condemn them. They're still a child of God, spiritual being, whether they know it or not. They're in ignorance. Consider what you should do. You have to do something about people who are trying to pull you down. You don't want to be pulled down. You have to stop and think, what should I do about this force or energy is taking me avidya, the wrong way? Perhaps you're there to help them change. Say, oh, no, it'd be easier to do something righteous here and beneficial than rip people off, Yogananda used to say, companionship is stronger than willpower. If you got a lot of avidya people, you'll more and more easily put up with them and their behavior, more and more easily join in. Companionship is stronger than your willpower, usually. That's the power of gangs, the power of Maya, the world. It can pull you down. So it's worth considering. So I made that point. Who are your companions, and what is their influence at present? Who are your companions? What is their influence on you? Because it's stronger than your willpower, usually. It's great if you have intense Godward people around. So let's take a minute. Who are your companions? What is their influence on you? Maybe it's a good picture, maybe it's a tough picture, but it's worth looking at the picture. Who are your companions? What is their influence on you? Profound question. Worth thinking about. The yoga concept of satsang comes in here. Very often people who are studying yoga and like yoga like to get together. And satsang means fellowship of truth. For example, we used to do it a lot. We do it down here. We get together, have spiritual evenings. We sure do. But my first introduction involved the hippie days, the 60s, in San Jose, right next, accessible to San Francisco, where the hippies all went or came from or whatever they were doing. And a lot of hippie-esque people were in our yoga classes. We would do potluck, get together on a particular night. Everybody brings some food, which was all put on the altar place, if it didn't have to be refrigerated. And we'd meditate and chant and talk about God and talk about our lives and how we're doing. And then we'd have that food. And we felt so wonderful. It was just a wonderful way of life, just being together with fellow devotees. It makes you stronger. It helps you understand yoga better. It helps you understand yourself better. My goodness, it was just like being in heaven. So that's a marvelous thing. Okay, so I'm just throwing that out there. It's good to cultivate satsang. And let's say you didn't have a yoga center or Sunday mornings, what a horrible thought. But a group of devotees doing yoga out on the fringes without much access, they could still do their yoga and come together for an evening of satsang or a Sunday morning of satsang, In a way, our worship is like a satsang. Marvelous way to have companionship that leads Godward. So, I've mentioned this book a few times because I get a kick out of it. I'm using it for when we go out to the desert, the executives of the Yoga Center and the Mountain Project, mountain staff, spiritual selling, and just enjoy it. It's kind of a simplified spiritual understanding of how to do business. And I like that. Joe Nunziata is the author from New York. So I just thought I'd do this test because Joe got spiritual at a point in his life and decided his work was to help business and business people be more spiritual. And so and he failed again and again before he discovered spirit. What do you call those? Bankruptcies and all kinds of problems. And gradually he found a way through spirit. Joe says one of the most important things in your life, as well as your business life, seek the vibrations of happy, successful people. Relate to happy, successful people as much as you can. He calls them the 5%. But you should try to get to know and relate to happy, successful people. Avoid moaners and complainers. They have negative, unhealthy vibrations. There's something wrong in them. Negative, unhealthy vibrations that brings down the other people around them in the business, but also brings down their health. It's hard on people to have moaners and complainers around because it brings everything down. Brings down the vibration, brings down the business, brings down the health of the people around the moaner and complainer. Avoid setting yourself up as a judge of others. It intensifies your ego and your separateness. It's basic spirituality. Ego is the enemy. How entrenched is your ego? So I thought I'd go to page 77 and just say this as a kind of review. Page 77. This ego check exam. And if this is happening to you more than half the time, then it's an ego problem. Could be there are various other reasons for it, but if it's happening more than half the time, he says, then it's an ego problem. So this is an ego check exam, because egos get in the way and make people miserable and make you fail. Okay. So, and they're quite profound questions, so I thought I'd read them, and you could say, for your own benefit, on a scale between 0 and 10, 10 being the worst or the most, 1 being best, but if you're 10s or 9s or whatever, it's an indication of a problem. And it involves honesty, but you don't have to show anybody your results, but you have to show yourself your results. So, ego check exam. He recommends you consider whether it's 100% of the time, or 75% of the time, or 50% of the time at the beginning of this question. So you could just think, I do this 75% of the time or 60% of the time. Just grade yourself. Just, do you do this 100% of the time or none? You're like 0, 20%? Okay. And it gets into a lot of feelings. So here we go. Are you ready? Here we go. How often do you feel you have to be right? What percentage? How often do you feel you have to be right? How often do you feel others are wrong? How often do you feel someone is challenging your decision? How often do you feel people are taking advantage of you? How often do you feel you have to win no matter what? How often do you judge others? How often are you jealous of others? How often do you feel you're being cheated? How often do you feel you do not receive what you deserved? How often do you feel you do not receive what you deserve or deserved? And how often do you talk negatively about others? That's the test. The red flag. Your ego is most powerful in any of the situations where your answer was 50% or more. These are indications that you are being overtaken by your ego in these situations. So he goes on to describe and discuss each one. It's forethought, It's something to think about, consider. An interesting one, isn't it? It's got some significant questions. It's Spiritual Selling by Joe Nunziata. Okay. So to you who are blue or feel powerless or don't feel like your giving and taking is getting anywhere, find Vidya. There's energy within you that wants to go Godward. It's in there. It's just, there's a pile of stuff over it. Vidya is an energy within you that takes you Godward. Just kind of like a wind that fills your kite. So what we're going to do is we're going to meditate on spirit and spirit guiding us. The aspect of spirit, we're going to strive to sense how spirit wishes to move us Godward. Kind of tune in with that. It helps to start with spirit is here. Spirit is my source. Spirit is my nature. Spirit is my guide. Spirit is my power. Spirit is my destiny. Just work on awareness of spirit and that it's dynamic as well as static, and it takes us Godward. Are you ready to play? Well, let's have fun with a force that is our great ally and that takes us Godward. May you be blessed by the Spirit of the Lord and Vidya within that Spirit. What yogis do for fun. Nice in there, isn't it? Oh, good. You got me some questions. Look at this. Questions. Thank you. Is it maybe part of getting older, middle-aged, to be more sad, less enthusiastic? Yeah, if you're living in your ego and your body, but not if you're living in your soul. Yeah, that's true. So it's good to get into the soul of things and blossom. Find myself surrounded by a lot of dramatic people, drama queens. As I am becoming more and more balanced, I find myself lacking compassion for the drama of others. How can I be compassionate and not annoyed by the drama of others? Ask God for help, be more of a witness, strive to go into love. You know, one of the nicest things to learn is life is from God, so is love. God is love. Try to let the life deep within you, the love deep within you. They kind of get mixed up with one another, life and love, as you do yoga. Just be your loving self. Right. And drama queen, that's a bunch of ego stuff, you know? So, and it's a bunch of personality stuff. And so it's people who are lost, trying to express their frustrations and trying to get satisfaction. You can be more compassionate by being more your soul, by sensing the life within you and the love within you. Find that place. And you'll have more fun too. In fact, you might even enjoy the drama queens more. Yes, but I understand. Okay, if we wish to change a condition in our lives and use the tools from this weekend, what happens if the condition is a result of karma? It is a result of karma. It always is. Okay. So it's like Sri Ma says, your karma may be to die. But if you do sadhana, maybe you just get a broken arm. If you do more sadhana, maybe you just get a bruise. If you do more sadhana, you maybe get an insight without the bruising, the breaking, and the death. So as you become more soul-centered and more loving, you mitigate karma lots. Do we need to do something additional or simply allow God to handle the fulfillment of our request? You say, what is, you could more eagerly seek to know the lesson or the blessing in the karma, because it's there to help you. So if you're an eager student and want to find out what it's all about and strive to have Spirit reveal these things to you, then you really accelerate in your life. So that'd be a good attitude regarding a karma. Seek, get into it. Like Thakur Das, our poet, says in his beautiful CD, find the gift in every slight, and it will take away the bite. Find the gift in every slight, the gift in every slight, and it will take away the... What a poet. Beautiful singing, beautiful. When Ramakrishna went into samadhi, he sometimes became rigid. When you meditate with us, do you go to a deep state or fully into samadhi? I get absorbed in spirit and I leave it up to the Lord what happens. But one day in the yoga center, one of our devotees said, you know, you used to go into samadhi all the time. That's because I was having these rushes that made me unable to speak. But you get so you can withstand the rush and keep speaking. You get better at handling the rush. So, well, when will we ever see you? I said, do you come Sunday mornings? And she said, yes. I said, well, almost always, second half. I'm gone. You know, during the chanting, I don't even know what the chants are going on, you know. So the thing is, God lets us get absorbed, and very often you too have shining faces and you're absorbed when you're way in there during the second half of Sunday mornings. So I love the Lord, and the Lord takes me in. And I'm not thinking I'm going to have samadhi. I'm just loving the Lord and letting what happens happen. And I don't think I've ever had a rigid body in these states. I have noticed truth is limited by the openness of the one receiving the truth. Well, yeah, it's what size cup are we holding up to the infinite rainstorm, you know? The size cup we hold up. So yogis want to open the cup and be able, with their nervous system, to maintain all that bliss and ecstasy. How to be honest when a lie is demanded. The solution is to be loving and kind. And the story is always, a yogi is sitting under a tree in India. The dacoits are these bandits. Was it dacoits or was it the good guys? It could go either way. But oh yeah, it has to be dacoits. Okay, so a man is running, trying to escape the dacoits. The yogi's sitting there, and the guy who's running makes so much noise that our yogi kind of notices him. And the guy says, "I'm being pursued by dacoits. Don't tell them where I am." And he climbs up in the tree above the yogi and just hides up there. And so the dacoits say, as they come with their knives and their brutality, they say, "Did you see a guy run by here just a few minutes ago?" And the yogi says, "Why, yes, I am dedicated to truth. He's up there in this tree right above me." They run up there, take him down, and kill him on the spot. And so the guru comes. "You oaf, you caused that man to be killed." In a case like this, when it involves someone's life, you should have thought of something else to say. You're not required to say, "Well, because I'm telling the truth, such and such is so." That's a child's immature argument. So you should have even told them he went that way, you know. So honesty involves being kind. Another example of this is Yogananda goes to a place where they're kind of health food cultists, and they're a bit nutty, and they have this weird food. But Yogananda, being a loving person, tries to eat the food. It's just pretty bad, but he's eating away. And one of his devotees thinks, this is not good. This should not be. So he speaks to them and tries to straighten them out. You know, this food is not good, and on and on. And Yogananda said, "You know, you were wrong. You hurt the situation. You made it worse, feeling compelled to tell the truth about this food and everything. You should have just been kind and had manners, you know." So truth should have, Yogananda went on to say, any truth has kindness in it. So go for the kindness and figure out what to say. Would that be deception then? It would be part of the truth, he would say. So you've got those things to think about. A lot of times people say, "Well, in the name of truth, I said this and this and this." Made the situation worse. There should have been some kindness in it instead of ego. That doesn't mean you tell an untruth. It means truth has kindness in it and love. So you'll find by working with this and having this as guidance, you're able to say beautiful things and help the situation along. And you'll feel that you were truthful. You just weren't using truth as a weapon to hurt somebody. There's also the timing of the truth. Don't, when people are really vulnerable, tell them, just say, "I'd like to talk with you afterward," you know, and then sit down and share in an atmosphere where it's not so painful for this person to hear this big trouble or this scary situation. You'd be kind in that too. I hope that helps, because it's a tender little wire to walk. I think I finished. Here's the big question today. If your true soul, yourself, if your soul, your true self, were free to express through you, so you got this soul, this magnificent soul we get to know more and more in meditation. If your soul were free to express itself through you, how would it like to live this life? It's a really good question to think. How would my soul like to live this life each day? And dealing with problems. How would my soul like to deal with this problem? Because we think, what am I going to do about this? So it's nice to be more aware of soul. Soul, how would you like to deal with this? Through me. I'm your instrument. How would you like to deal with this? And how would you like to live each day, soul? You love me. You are love. You are the spirit of everything. How would you like to live through me today? Wonderful question. Soul, how would you like to live this day? Or how would you like to live this life? How would you like to express through me? Because actually, you're the reality of my being. You're my true self. Soul, how would you like to express me? In word and deed, in action. How would you like to live? So let's take a sec to just sense the question. Just say, soul, how would you like to live this day through me? And how would you like to live this life through me? How would you prefer to live this life through me? Let's just take a minute to think about that big question, because it could be very freeing and marvelous. Okay. That's a really fun question. Soul, how would you like to live this life through me? How would you like to live this day through me? What would you do with this day? What would you do? Whenever our ego, our false sense of self, and this is just basic yoga, whenever it's active and dominant, whenever the soul's active and dominant, we are separated, disconnected from the soul within and spirit everywhere. Ego disconnects us. In ego, a false sense of self, we're oblivious of spirit's presence or reality. We form a false, counterfeit sense of self, of who and what we are. Unaware of spirit, we take a physical view of the world and a physical view of ourselves, as physical creatures. We rely on our senses and mind, as you know. We have desires and fears that are quite limited. Our motives are mainly survival and physical satisfaction and physical things. You and I have done yoga a while, weeks or years or decades or lifetime. We know what life is like on the days our soul's in charge. And we know also what life is like when we slump into ego. We sense this marvelous interplay. Ego sometimes eclipsing or obstructing everything, and soul sometimes free to express. So I'd like you to think about it. What is your life like when you're conscious that your soul is prevailing? What is your life like when your ego is prevailing? Let's talk, if you dare. Yes, please. Peace and harmony and joy when her soul's in charge. Yeah. Agitation, competition, fear when the ego's in charge. That is so well said. That'll probably do. But somebody care to add something? When she's in her soul, she senses her connection with other people and a greater appreciation and understanding of other people when she's in her soul. And they sure seem like clods when you're in your ego. That's sufficient. But thank you very much. You're inspiring. Okay. One of the main points of this retreat, what is it? You've done yoga a while, you can kind of go into automatic pilot. Don't settle for the status quo. Just don't go on automatic. This is the way life is, and this is the way my yoga is, and this is my level of yoga experience. That's just the way it is. Don't go into that. Don't just have a truce between sweet soul times while the ego runs daily life. You're not powerless. Your soul is very powerful. It wants to express. Ego does have its satisfactions and highs when it gets what it wants. But in its self-centered separateness, it too often ignores the needs and rights of other people. Builds up a lot of karmas, too. Ego life in time fails to fulfill. Leaves us confused, helpless, finding our adventures in life meaningless. Then we find that as our body's about to depart, what was it about? I don't get what life was. We're just going to live and then die? Is that it? Vanity, vanity, all is vanity. We become philosophers. Not to mention all the worry and stress and suffering most egos go through in a lifetime. Yogis suggest a much different way of living. Live from your soul. Your soul is your true self, as you know. Your soul is your essence. Your soul is the infinite spirit living within you. It's a wave of the infinite ocean. It is immortal. It never dies. It's ongoing love, bliss, and joy. Soul is never in pain, or worrying, or confused. Soul is never feeble, powerless, jealous, angry, afraid, jealous, resentful. I got jealous twice. Depressed, mean, petty, arrogant, harmful. Your soul is your true self, and your soul loves to express. We think soul's a place we visit, and then we go back to regular ego life. So, your soul is your true self, and it wants to express, and it loves to express through you, through the vehicle of your mind and body. Your soul, we keep reincarnating. Your soul ultimately prevails. After many lifetimes, finally, the ego surrenders and opens and allows the soul to fully and freely express in some lifetime. But that could happen in this one. Why wait for many lifetimes of ego life? Why not let the soul express more and more fully and freely now? Just as Ramakrishna would say, lift the ego stick. The ego is this sense of self that acts like a stick. You put a stick across the water, it divides the water into two parts. It appears to divide the water, but the water is not divided. The ego tends to divide it into this side and that side of the ego, of the stick. Lift the ego stick. Just think of your ego as like a stick across the water. Just lift it up, and then you've got this unity between yourself and others, yourself and God. It's a beautiful analogy. So, surrender or permit or allow your soul to express now, instead of going through many lifetimes to learn this lesson. Learn it now. Your soul is your core energy. Your soul is your true vibration, your pure vibration. Your soul is essence, spirit, which can joyfully flow from the vast ocean of spirit, the infinite ocean in which the universe lives. Infinite ocean of consciousness can flow through you. From the infinite spirit into the particulars of your life, through you into the world. To help this happen, the ego needs to cooperate. Why? Why did God give us an ego? Because in the view of yoga, the yoga cosmology is God wanted to experience life not just as vast, but through individual beings. So he created, I am one, let me be many, and created all these different life forms and evolutionary things until we come along. And that infinite spirit took on identity and distinction in order to more fully experience life. You are one of those manifestations of the infinite spirit. So you are a particular wave of the ocean of consciousness. That's, in brief, the yoga cosmology. Why do we have individual lives? Because the spirit within us wanted to have an individual life. But in having that individual life, the physical world seemed to be so real, and we relied on our senses and our thoughts and our personal experiences. And in doing that, we felt distinct and separate from other people. And it was important to go through that distinction, discovering our uniqueness as spiritual beings. But we don't know we're spiritual beings yet in this story here. Then down the road, as we go through life and have the give and take of life with others, and struggle to survive, and fight wars, and go through depressions and famines and all kinds. As we go along, we begin to discover something deeper within us, this spiritual core, this soul. And as we begin to discover that, then there's great joy because the individual soul and the infinite energy everywhere interplay. And that's an awakening person. That's a spiritually conscious person. And you're at that level. And down the road, the play between your soul, your individual expression as spirit, your soul, and the infinite is going to get more and more beautiful and wondrous. Now, 100 years ago or more, yogis would go and discover, I'm spirit. And they just love to be spirit. And Ramakrishna says, yes, but there's a divine play to be had now between your individual expression of spirit and the infinite spirit. And this interplay is called the Leela. You're not meant to just figure out that you're spirit and abide in spirit all the time. You're meant to live in spirit and let spirit flow through you and express through you. And that's basically the idea that Ramakrishna came to present to yoga, because most yoga was discover you are spirit. And it was wonderful that it helped people to do that. And Ramakrishna said, now discover what spirit wants to do. Now that you know your spirit, let spirit express. Let it flow through you. You're not meant to just graduate and sit around in spirit. Spirit wants to come through you. And that's his major contribution to yoga, just pushing us forward. Now, Krishna said there was a Leela. There were all kinds of people said there was Leela. He came to demonstrate, Ramakrishna did, the fullness of that and make many subtle distinctions in terms of Nitya Leela and Radha Leela and all these beautiful concepts of where humanity is going. Okay, so that's basically the background. To help this soul flowing through you, your essence, your spiritual core, flow through. Your ego needs to become cooperative. This ego stick, this separate sense of self you got, needs to be open to higher levels of awareness. It needs to surrender and let go and stop blocking or frustrating this flow. So a humble ego is a great thing. A receptive, cooperative one is a great thing. And hopefully you're that way. Now, one of the main obstacles that keeps our ego from plugging in is a hurting ego. My sense of self and my feelings are hurt. And my thoughts are caught up and preoccupied. And I'm angry or blue about this. A hurting ego, a wounded sense of I, is often the barrier. People can very often just, okay, I lift the ego stick. In happiness and in joy, I lift it. It's easier when you're in happy states. But When you're hurting, like raped or murder, somebody you love has been murdered, it's really hard to get over that. It's a wounded ego. Or when your people are all suffering so bad, and you love them and you feel so bad for the way that they're being treated. There are just all kinds of ways we get stuck in a wounded ego. And it can be understood compassionately by others, but it's still a barrier, a wounded ego, even though you can explain and understand it, like rape, murder of a loved one. That's very understandable. Just how do you go on? How do you? Well, that's the question, the hurting ego. So a major aid to finding and plugging the sense of self into the true self, instead of maintaining a false self, due to some outrage, perhaps. Main way is find a way to forgive. Forgiveness is often what needs to happen for samadhi to occur and soul and God to be known and soul and God to come through. We need to forgive. I was just listening to our songwriter, and he said such great things in his song, Forgiveness, that I've got some more quotes here. How about this? Turn away from the hurt, cast your fire in the dirt. That's beautiful. If you don't forgive, walls go up and we have war. And then again, find the gift in every slight and it will take away the bite. Oh, good stuff. Really good stuff. Okay, I just had to bring it along. Okay. As long as your ego is intensified with a lot of feelings, a lot of subconscious energy, and a lot of separateness and woe, waiting for justice. You can say, when there's justice, maybe you're not waiting for justice. Maybe you want to just have vengeance. This other person really gets hurt bad because they hurt you so bad. As long as ego is intensified, one way or another, intensified, we remain disconnected. So that's part of the problem, why we don't live in our souls. We're wounded, suffering. So there's a great benefit if you can find ways to forgive. The ego, once it's not hurting and swirling, can let go and go into soul. To forgive, to give up resentment against, or the desire to punish. Give up the resentment. Well, I say I forgive, but I still resent. To give up resentment against, or the desire to punish. Stop being angry with. To pardon. To give up all claim to punish or exact a penalty for an offense. To overlook the offense. Yogis strive to leave the matter to God and get on with their lives. It's hard to do it because we get bruised, we get banged up in life, and it's hard to leave the matter to God. We want as creatures to fight back, fling back. Yogis strive to leave the matter to God and go on with their life. They know God is going to deal with this. We're all here learning through cause and effect, through karma. We want to live free of a chip on the shoulder, because that's a bruised ego, and that means not so much soul time going to happen. Chip on the shoulder. We get down the road to pray for that person who in ignorance hurt us. Their soul doesn't hate us or hurt us. Their soul loves us. It's just in their sense of separateness they did that to us. So we pray, God, they felt so separate they did this. Please help them. They must be in agony, feeling so separate. Down the road, we pray for the well-being of the hurter, the offender. And we also think, I've offended and hurt a lot of people too. I need some forgiveness for that. Life is often full of wounds, disappointments, shocks, losses, conflicts, betrayals. As long as we let the ego be intense, we're separate from and ignorant of soul, spirit, and so we have no peace. So the question is, if you're wondering why you can't sense your soul more deeply and have more fun in life, as bad as it was, can you forgive it? Yogis don't give up until they forgive and leave the matter to God. They center in their souls, go on with life, a life of love and joy. We do strive to learn from the negative experience. What is this about? What can I learn from this? How can I grow from this when somebody hurts us? But we find, especially as we grow in yoga, we need to forgive. I have a need to forgive. How do I forgive here? Because I need to forgive. I feel the need to forgive. Down the road, I gotta forgive. I got to. It's just something that's impeding my happiness and wholeness. I need to forgive. I want to be free again, not carrying this huge weight around. Rather than being bound to the abuse and the abuser. So, as yogis, and in terms of what your soul would like to do through you, there has to be forgiveness happening in order for the soul to come through, and usually for the soul to be known. We strive to thoroughly forgive, which again, let's listen. We give up resentment. You keep working every day till the resentment's gone. Resentment against, and the desire to punish. First, we want them to get theirs. We give up the desire to punish them, or want them to be punished. We know that God is dealing with this person. Maybe it'll seem like punishment, maybe it won't. But we're not egoistically striving to run that situation. We stop being angry with. We pardon. Give the offending person and the matter over to God. Here's what happened, Lord. I offer it to you. Bless me to learn from this. Go on with my life. In a positive state of well-being. Not as a damaged psyche. We do say, Lord, what is my duty in this matter? When somebody hurts us, like we keep hearing, if you don't report this, then this guy's going to hurt other people. So you may have a duty to deal with the person who hurt you, but not in a vengeful way. Lord, what is my duty in this matter? What must I do to keep this person from hurting other people? What's my duty in this? So when you're being hurt, you have to figure out, how do I respond to this? And what is my karma in this? Why did I attract this? This is something that could have happened to somebody else, happened to me now. Why me? What is the lesson, the meaning, the blessing in this? And Lord, help me forgive. And what we do is we forgive daily until the resentment, the anger, the desire for revenge, or the desire for justice. We forgive daily until we center in and live from our soul once again.